Hello and welcome back to my harp studio. My name is Victoria Hughes of VictoriaHarpist.com, and I am a San Francisco based harp teacher. I retired from active playing a few years back, and now I teach full-time and I love it. I teach children and adults, and I teach in person and also by Zoom. So this episode is number 4 out of a series of 10 that I am doing for the adult beginning harp student. And it doesn't matter what kind of harp you play, the type of technique that I teach, it's called the Salzedo technique, will work equally well on any harp. And in this technique, we concentrate on producing a beautiful, full, and clean, non-buzzing sound. And we also focus on keeping our hands as relaxed as possible. So it's really a very fabulous technique. So this lesson, we are going to talk about our thumbs. Okay, the thumb in harp playing, if you think about it, it's the only finger that has to push against the string instead of pulling it, right? Normally, you pull your fingers into your hand, but with the thumb, we push our thumb against it. So it's different, and it's also very important. In a way, our right hand thumb is almost like the pinky, right hand pinky of a pianist. Many times it produces the melody note, and it always produces the top of the chord, and that top note in any chord is always the most important, especially in rolled chords, which is like the bread and butter for us harpists. Okay, so I've got my thumb on middle C. Now, very rarely will you see the thumb played by itself. You would hardly ever see a fingering like this because it just doesn't make sense. No, instead, as we talked about, the thumb, you will see it as the top note of a chord, and that's how you will hear it. Or you will see it connected to another finger, like here. We're going to play the second finger and then the thumb. So that's how we're going to learn how to play the thumb today, is by connecting it to the second finger. So I want to say a few things about the thumb, and then we're really going to learn how to do it. People are born with all kinds of different shapes of fingers and thumbs and so forth. I had the misfortune of being born with a hitchhiker's thumb that curves wildly off in this direction. So that was a real problem for me when I started the harp, and I had to learn how to straighten my thumb. So that simply meant that I had to learn how to take the top half of my thumb and have it be straight and in alignment with the bottom part instead of like this. So if you were born with a hitchhiker's thumb, don't despair. It will just take you a little bit of extra practicing to get it to go ahead and be straight. Now, when we look at the thumb while we're playing, and the easiest way to learn about the thumb is by connecting it to the second finger, because we rarely play the thumb by itself. You wouldn't see a fingering where you're just going like this and playing the thumb. You just wouldn't see that. It doesn't make sense. You would see it connected to finger 2 and or finger 3. So when we look at our thumb, we're going to go ahead and attach it and connect it to the second finger. So one of the first things that you're going to notice is that my thumb is at a high angle to the rest of my hand. It is not down here. If you place your thumb down here, you're going to have all kinds of trajectory problems, meaning your thumb is going to run into the string in between, like that. You're also going to have a piddly little sound. We don't want a piddly little sound from the harp. We want a big, beautiful sound. So that means keeping your thumb up. Now, again, people have different lengths of thumbs, so yours may look differently. Yours might sit a little bit further down. So we want it up, but we don't want it so high that it gets distorted like that and that we feel a stretch. We want it as high as possible without feeling anything. So mine is about here. If I do any more, then I start feeling a stretch. So only you know where your thumb will fall. And as you can see, I have straightened out my thumb. It's not being a hitchhiker thumb. It's being a straight thumb. Now, the other thing that you're going to notice is that there's a big space between my thumb and my hand, or my thumb and the lower part of my second finger. And that's very important because, like I said, we're pushing against the thumb and we need this space. Our thumb is going to go into an arc like that, and it's going to land on the middle knuckle of our second finger like this. Remember, we're pushing against the string, we're not pulling it, okay? So our thumb is going to go like this, okay? And it's actually going to fold over the second knuckle or the middle knuckle of the second finger. So not only is it going to touch like this, it's actually also going to fold over. Now, as I said, if your thumb is shorter, it might not be long enough to fall over. You may wind up just like this. I had a wonderful young man student once, a big, tall, lovely young man, and he had great hands for playing the harp, but his thumbs were so cute. They were very, very short, about this long. So when he played, his thumb only came up to maybe about here. It wasn't long enough to fold over, okay? But we made it work for him. But we want it to fold over like this because it gives us an even extra sense of a good articulation and a good closed sound, like the circle of a sound. Okay, so let's talk about a few problems that happen with the thumbs when people first start. I think the most common thing that I see is that people allow their thumbs to fall and to go very low on the string, almost even down to here. And when you have your thumb down here, you're gonna have a trajectory where you're gonna crash into the other string, or you'll have a very tiny little stingy little sound. No, we don't want a little sound like that. We want a big and beautiful tone like this. So, very important to keep the thumb up at all times. Now, the other thing that's important is keeping a space between your thumb and your hand, or your thumb and the base of your second finger. And keeping your thumb up will help you to keep this space. So right now, I'm going to play the second finger and then the thumb, and we are going to try to maintain this space. So this is how it should look. You play the second finger, and then you play the thumb. Okay, but what happens to a lot of beginners is that when they play the second finger, they close the gap here, and they move their hand, and they do this. Now, once you've closed your gap and you have no more space, then you have truly disabled your thumb. Your thumb has to have this space so that it can work. So when you practice this exercise with fingers 2 and fingers 1, like we talked about with the thumb, you're going to practice it with the second finger as an anchor, playing like this with your thumb. And I also want you to practice playing the second finger, and don't move your hand. Do not close the gap. Keep your gap big. Don't do this. So don't move this knuckle. Don't move your hand at all. Just the fingers into your palm. Just the fingers, and that way you will have a beautiful space to move your thumb. All right, well, I want to thank everybody for joining me for this important lesson on our thumbs. So in conclusion, let us remember how important the thumb is. It's going to take more of a push. You need to emphasize it a little bit. In that way, you will sound very professional, just like the harpist that you listen to. That top note, so important. Remember, we always want to keep our thumbs up. Do not let your thumb go down. Keep your thumb up. Also, keep a big space between your hand and your thumb. That's crucial so that you have the space for your thumb to do its proper action. Not disable your thumb by losing that space, because this will happen, and this is truly disabling your thumb. It needs this big space. Okay, well, I want to thank you all. And our next lesson, we are really going to get into using fingers 2, 3, and 4. So we're going to get into some playing. So that should be exciting. In the meantime, I invite you all to ask questions in the comments below. I will answer the questions, and you never know, somebody may have the same question as yourself, so it might get quite interesting. Anyway, I'm Victoria Hughes at VictoriaHarpist.com. Feel free to contact me if you want a lesson or you have any questions. Okay, thank you very much and happy harping.